Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Torrence, and I serve as the seventh seated president at Motlow State Community College. But I'm also a graduate of the great Tennessee Technological University in its PhD in exceptional learning focused on the literacy program. Today, I'm happy to bring to your attention and read with you Schomburg, the Man Who Built the Library. It is a Coretta Scott King Award winner, as well as written by Carol Boston Weatherford. It's illustrated by Eric Velasquez. So we're going to jump into the text. Starting off, I have a new word for you today. It's called bibliophile. So a bibliophile is someone who is a lover of books, someone who loves to read. And Schomburg definitely fits the bill. Arturo Schomburg was more than a book lover, more than a mailroom clerk at a banker's trust, where he supervised 11 white men, unheard of authority for a black man at the time. He recognized early on that history was not history unless it was complete from all angles. Like a detective, he hunted for clues and found facts affirming the role of African descendants in building nations and shaping cultures. Fellow book collector Arturo Spingarn noted that Arturo would approach an immense pile of apparently worthless material and unerringly find one or two treasures which would have been lost to the less inspired collector. Arturo believed that those facts, once unearthed, would speak loud and clear in halls of knowledge. Daring another teacher to tell a black child that the Negro has no history. Time and time again, through print, music, and art, Schomburg proved otherwise. On his lifelong quest, he was not just collecting rarities, he was also collecting history for generations to come. He wanted the facts to reach the community and boys and girls in classrooms to teach them that black heritage knows no national boundaries. And today, the Harlem Library bearing Schomburg's name boasts more than 10 million items, a beacon for scholars all over the world, bringing to light past glories that Arturo always knew existed. Quick picture of Arturo and that which he loved, books. 5th grade. Arturo Schomburg was born with a sense of wonder. As a boy in Puerto Rico, he shadowed tapiqueros, cigar workers. These men pulled money to pay el lector, to read aloud in the factory. Newspapers, novels, speeches, and politics. Arturo took in the scent of cured tobacco and the sound of a reader's voice. Thus, Arturo not only learned his ABCs, but also to love the written word. So when his 5th grade teacher told him that Africa's sons and daughters had no history, no heroes worth noting, did the twinkle leave Arturo's eyes? What do you think? Did he slouch his shoulders, hang his head low, and look to the ground rather than to the horizon? Absolutely not. No. His people must have contributed something over the centuries, history that teachers did not teach. Until they did, school children like Arturo would not learn of their own heritage, ignorance shackling them like chains. After the teacher dismissed his people's past, did the twinkle in Arturo's eyes like a candle blown out in the dark? No, the twinkle never left. It grew into a spark. Arturo as a young boy with his school teachers. Genius. Where is our historian to give us our side? Arturo asked. To teach our people our own history. Afro-Puerto Rican, or Afro-Boricuano, born in 1874, young Arturo Schomburg began his lifelong quest. Still a boy, he took on the mantle of historian because he had to know the truth. In the history club, he noticed that white youth seemed prouder of their heritage than black members. Arturo read everything he could about his people, but he did not hurry. He let facts simmer. True scholarship requires time and calm effort, he figured. Nothing worthwhile is done in haste. After all, there were ages to traverse. Lost for hours in books, Arturo was transported by Benjamin Banneker's Almanac to Early America. Arturo studied all he could about the self-taught inventor, astronomer, and draftsman. He beamed as he read that Banneker accurately plotted a solar eclipse. Arturo almost could hear the tick-tock of Banneker's handcrafted wooden clock, the first built in the New World. Arturo imagined Banneker counting off minutes, racing time to redraft plans from memory for the streets of Washington, D.C., after French architect Pierre L'Enfant walked off and carted his papers with him off to Europe. Banneker reproduced them only in 2 days. The nation's capital in 2 days, by heart. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Where were the monuments to this genius? A picture of Benjamin Banneker and young Arturo studying. El Immigrante, the immigrant. When 17-year-old Arturo Schomburg immigrated to New York from Puerto Rico in 1891, he carried with him letters of introduction from cigar makers and from Jose Gonzalez Font, who owned a printing press in San Juan, where Arturo had worked as a typographer. Arturo presented the letters to Flor Vega, an amateur book collector and staunch opponent of Spanish colonial rule. Arturo perused Vega's photos and clippings about New York's Puerto Rican community and soon found a local tabaqueros. This time, he lived among them, sharing their activism and their allegiance to Cuban and Puerto Rican independence from Spain. In support of La Causa, or the cause, Arturo joined political groups such as Las Dallas Antillas, the Two Antilles, and wrote letters to the editor of the newspaper Patria under the pen name Guerrero. Newly arrived, Arturo sought to better himself, giving Spanish lessons while learning English in night school. Drawn to medicine and law, he pursued neither because, as the story goes, his official school letters and school records were lost in a fire. Not even a letter from a former teacher would suffice or prove sufficient proof of his formal education. Kindergarten was all that it could be documented. So Arturo set aside dreams of profession in medicine or law and toiled as a messenger and clerk at a law firm that was seeking to protect Johnson & Johnson's use of the Red Cross logo on its products. Interesting. For that case, Arturo indexed and memorized thousands of pages of testimony, and his recall of detail was truly extraordinary. The hunting bug. I wanted to find out, said Arturo Schomburg, what my own racial group had contributed. He could not get his hands on enough books. His curiosity about Africana, insatiable. Arturo had what he called the book hunting disease. No one volume told the whole story, and no library specialized in the subject. So he hunted rare books, hunted rare bookstores, poring over fragile pamphlets with torn covers and leather books with paper mites between pages. Most of what he bought early on came cheap because white collectors considered it junk. Still, what he hunted was not easy to find. But Arturo knew what clues and markers to look for. Now and then, he would happen upon a prize. In Phyllis Wheatley, the first African-American and third American woman to have a book of poems published, Arturo found not only a devotion to God and country, but also a biography as remarkable as her verse. Captured at age 7 in West Africa and named Phyllis after the slave ship in which she was cargo, she was sold to John Wheatley, but was sickly and thus never trained as his wife's servant. Poor in health but rich and in rare brilliance, Phyllis quickly mastered English and read the Bible. She studied religion and the classics and spoke several languages fluently. But Phyllis was most phenomenal as a poet. If only Arturo could have been a gull swooping and crooning above the waves as Phyllis crossed the Atlantic a second time, bound for London to promote her book. Poems on various subjects, religious and moral, in 1773. If only that same year Arturo could have witnessed that stroke of the pen granting Phyllis her freedom. If only Arturo could have looked over her shoulder, seen her penning that praise poem to George Washington during the Revolution. Although she offered subscriptions for a second book, her final manuscript was never published nor found. If only, thought Arturo, I could find that. Arturo book hunting, and a picture of Phyllis Wheatley in 1773. Well, it's been a pleasure to read with you today. I hope that you've enjoyed the excerpts from Schomburg's text, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Remember, reading is power. Keep reading, keep learning every day. Have a good one.